8 minutes past 8. Now, this morning on the programme, we've been talking about children in care in Derbyshire. It's gone up by 39% in the last 5 years. Well, the County Council's about to spend £750,000 retraining social workers to adopt a new approach to stop children being placed into care. Well, Terry Galloway joins me this morning. He was in care when growing up. Morning to you.
Morning.
Thanks very much for joining us. Just tell us your story. What was it like growing up in care?
Well, I was kind of passed around from children's home to foster home to children's home, and in the 80s it was quite traumatic.
And how did that come about?
Just family circumstances at the time.
And in terms of your time in care, obviously we don't want to go into too much detail, but how did you feel? Can you remember how you were feeling when you were passed around from home to home?
You kind of feel that nobody wants you. You feel on your own. You see all these other families going out for picnics and things like that, and you just feel a little bit isolated.
What sort of time were you spending in each of these different homes?
It varied. Some was like a week, some was a couple of years, some was like 3 years. It varied from time to time. And
was it more disruptive when you were with a family for a longer period of time, when you had to move on?
Yeah, it all depends on really what the care plan is that the local authority have for you, and whether you kind of buy into it. If they have a care plan and you don't actually buy into it, then it can be kind of disruptive. Like if their care plan is for, say, adoption or long-term fostering, and you actually want to go home with your mum, then things is not. It doesn't happen. Things are disruptive.
Do you think things could have been done differently with you?
Not really. I think the local authorities do an absolutely fantastic job, to be honest with you. They've got a lot of things. They're up against quite a lot of things, and I was a child at the time. I didn't understand the wider, bigger picture. What we really need to be doing now is actually getting the local community to kind of pull together and help these social workers provide opportunities for children, because what tends to happen with kids in care is if they don't have the right social networks and the right contacts when they actually leave care, then they actually go right back into the same cycle, and when they have kids, their kids then go into care themselves. So what we really need to do is kids, when they get to about 15, 16, 17, we need to be creating mentoring systems and apprenticeships, and that's really the key to fixing this problem.
So how important was the social workers for you?
I had different social workers at different times. They are important, but at the end of the day, they just, for me, they was just corporate parents,
And did you ever used to think, why me? Was it ever a question that entered your head when you used to go to school and you used to see people with families? Did you ever used to look at yourself and think, why have I ended up in this position?
Not really. When you're young, you kind of everything's normal. Us looking on now, people who haven't been in this situation, they look at it and they think, oh my God. But in reality, for a child, it's normal, and that's it.
And were you in an unusual position when you were growing up? Because we heard earlier the statistic that there's 39% increase in children in care in Derbyshire. Were you surrounded by people in a similar situation? Yes. Like the key to this, to decreasing these numbers, is the support networks afterwards. Like on Friday, I work for Sandicliffe Motor Group, and when I actually explained my story to the senior managers at Ford College and the owners of the company, they actually they felt moved by it, and I said to them, what I'd like to do is take some kids to Alton Towers for the day. Now in the 80s, there was a charity taxi firm that basically used to do convoys to Blackpool to see the lights. Now, I'd never been to the seaside or anything like that, and I remember in around about 1984, we went off to Blackpool in a convoy of 200 taxis, and it was all like decorated in tinsel, balloons, and lights, and we just felt so special. We felt like people actually cared about us. We felt at the end of the day we was actually part of something.
And we even had like a police convoy, and they blocked the roads off for us, and it was absolutely fantastic. So when I went to Sandicliffe and I said to them, I said, look, can we try and recreate something like this? So we did. And for the last 4 or 5 months, we've been fundraising all across the company. Sandicliffe and the Sandicliffe family has been absolutely fantastic in this. And on Friday, we actually took 7 coaches in convoy under police escort to Alton Towers. And those kids, some of the comments, some of the staff, the staff, because it's a good company, they came on board with it. But when they actually saw those kids coming into them Sandicliffe dealerships, kind of like 4-year-olds, 5-year-olds, and they was looking at them and they was thinking, well, these are just normal kids, because people look at kids in care and think, and kind of think, well, there must be something wrong with them, but they're not. They're just normal children, and quite literally, it was an absolutely fantastic day. But now the problem is those kids have gone home, and now if people forget about them, the real work starts now. Now I've got a friend who does installations for telematics companies, insurance companies. He's one of the biggest suppliers to telematics in the country, and I was talking to him about this last night, and he's basically turned around to me and he says, look, in Derbyshire we'll give 5 kids from care an apprenticeship this year, and what I'd really like to do is implore local businesses around Derbyshire to actually phone the programme and say, look, we'll take some kids on, because that is where the work is. If the community join together and actually create opportunities for these kids, that's the solution.
It's collective responsibility, isn't it? Terry, good to see you this morning. Well done on Friday as well. Terry Galloway joining me this morning, who works in Sandicliffe. 15 minutes past 8 is the time on BBC Radio Derby. It comes on the day that the government says that every eligible council in England is to take part in the government's programme to tackle the problem of troubled families. The news represents an expansion of a scheme under which local authorities get financial incentives to tackle some of the 120,000 families set to cost the taxpayer £9 billion a year. We'll talk more about that a little bit later. Going to be an interesting week this week for the Leveson Inquiry. If you'd like to see politicians